What's going on, folks? Thanks for coming back to episode 3 of my Gear Progression Systems Guide. In this episode, we're talking about Abjuration gear. Abjuration gear is fairly simple. You take an Abjuration scroll, trade it to a certain NPC in Sandoria with a specific cursed item. Then, the NPC uses the scroll to uncurse the item in question, and boom, you have your usable Abjuration gear piece. But you are here for a little bit more detail than that, so here goes. First, there are abjurations for level 73 gear that you obtain from old 75 era content, such as Sky, old hyper notorious monsters, or high notorious monsters, depending on what type of person you are, and Odin. There are also abjuration sets for level 99 pre-eye level content, such as Void Watch and Legion. Unless you are a crafter and are crafting one of these pieces, then you don't have to worry about those older pieces. There are some recipes for crafting that involve those older pieces, but if you're not doing the crafting, don't worry about it. There is one exception that you might want to be aware of, and that's the movement speed enhancing piece from Kieran. That is the Crimson Cuisses, or otherwise fondly known of as Fasty Pants. But there is an eye-level version of those as well. In fact, many of the high-level alternatives share the same look as the older stuff, but with vastly different stats. So, like I said, getting this gear requires 2 items that are traded to an NPC in Sandoria. 1 Abjuration and 1 Cursed and Unequipable armor piece. The armor pieces come in 2 varieties, the normal quality and a -1 version. The abjurations themselves have no such distinction. Hey, just jumping in here quick, I forgot to mention that the -1 pieces is more for the older abjuration cursed items. The newer ones are going to have different names, but of a similar sounding name, like Vexed for normal quality and Jinxed for high quality. Or in some of the other ones, it'll be Voodoo or Bewitched or something like that. So just check bgwiki.com and it'll show you which one will give you the +1 and which one will give you the normal quality. Thanks. Trading an abjuration with a normal quality cursed item of the appropriate type, check bgwiki.com for details on which piece is which, or which piece goes with which. Yields a normal quality uncursed usable armor piece. Trading the abjuration with a -1 piece will yield a high quality or +1 version of the usable armor piece. Simple, right? Well, as the high level crafter will tell you, it is much more rare to craft a -1 cursed piece than a normal quality cursed piece, and therefore the cost of the -1 cursed piece will be significantly higher. The regular cursed pieces are pretty cheap actually, but the rare -1 pieces almost always are not. That is the reason I have the normal quality pieces shown in green, as in easy, and the +1 pieces shown in orange. A lot of the times they are going to be more expensive, even though the actual trading and the gathering of the piece may not be any harder at all, just a different item on the auction house. But if you have a ton of gil, you may find that the +1 pieces are more blue or medium in difficulty. The arrow shown is because some of the +1 pieces are actually the best gear for the slot and for some situations and jobs. Not only that, all of the abjuration gear, normal quality and +1, can be augmented with extra stats by talking to Nolan and Norg. So without getting too much into the weeds too early, I'll go over that in a bit. First, how do you get the abjuration scrolls? In modern Final Fantasy XI days, there are several ways to get them. One, you could trade a dial key abjuration item to a Gobby Box NPC in most of the towns. He will pop out for you a random abjuration scroll from a long list of possible options. Unfortunately, this does include the older level 73 and 75 and non-eye level 99 abjurations. These dial key abjurations are given away for free during special in-game campaigns and events. You'll usually just see one pop up on the screen as long as you have inventory space for it. This usually happens when you first log in for the day. 2, you can do the Eshka, Zita, Ruan, or Reisenjima battle event called Domain Invasion. You can get up to 100 domain invasion points per day, and 400 of these domain invasion points can be used to obtain the exact aberration you want from an NPC called Zurim in Norg. These points can also be traded for a myriad of weapons and armor, but more on that in the Eshka portions of this guide. 3, and maybe the hardest depending on how you prefer to play the game, is getting the aberrations from the original enemies that drop them in Eshka, Zita, and Ruan. 4, if you happen to have any mules on your account, they may also have gotten these abjuration or cursed items in the same way as your main characters. You can send the scrolls or even the uncursed armor itself within the same POL account. So if you are more lucky with your dial key abjurations on a mule, you can just send to your main character the abjuration or the fully upgraded item already. And I believe the fully augmented versions of that armor can be sent with the augments intact also. So eye level 119 abjuration gear can be augmented by talking to Nolan in Norg. There are actually ways to augment the lower level older abjuration gear as well, but it is pretty pointless to go over these days because that stuff is just old and not really usable anymore. When it comes to the newer abjuration gear, there are 4 sets of augments you can choose from for each piece. These augments usually complement that specific piece of gear. For example, the Adamar set usable by Monk, Thief, Ranger, Ninja, Blue Mage, Corsair, Dancer, and Rune Fencer will feature augments suitable for those jobs to a more or less extent. These augments have 15 stages with increasing stats for each stage, but this is still older gear, so upgrading right from 1 to 15 is quite easy and cheap, so I wouldn't worry about too much about the step-by-step upgrading. Each armor set has a set path A, B, and C, with matching augments for all pieces on that set. For example, the path A is going to be the same augments for the head and the body and the hands, etc. Each piece also has a path D that is unique to that specific piece. For example, path D on the Adamar set, Adamar bonnet has certain augments that are not available on the other Adamar pieces. Once you have your abjuration, the cursed piece, and upgraded them, bring the fully usable piece to Nolan in Norg along with the upgrade item called Esha Elixir. Just to keep it simple, 3 Esha Elixirs plus 2 will be enough to fully augment a piece with your chosen path. That is basically it for the abjuration gear. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, please comment. If you appreciate this video, please like. And if you didn't, please leave a comment telling me how awful I am. Thanks a lot. See you next time in episode 4, where I go over the ambuscade gear. Thanks a lot.